We'll go same format, so I'm not going to take any more time talking. Let's get started. Let's start with introductions. She's ready. I'll go ahead and start for her. Go ahead. Let's go ahead, Mr. Penguin.
Hi guys, thanks so much for coming out this evening. I said it with the last debate. I really enjoyed the process, and I appreciate you guys coming out because it really just validates all the time and effort we put into campaigning and getting the message out, and letting people know how we intend to do things moving forward. And thanks, ladies, for putting this together, and to the sound engineer too. You're doing a great job. I know it's stressful. I've taken a deep look at Eagle Mountain and what Eagle Mountain's done in the past. And I'll start by commending Mayor Jackson. I think we've done a great job from what we've experienced in the past with previous mayors. There are some strengths that I believe I have that I can offer to move our city forward in ways that we're deficient right now. That's not an indictment against Mayor Jackson, and I really don't want to take this campaign to a negative place. Everybody's different, and as now a politician, I guess we can say that officially, right? I don't necessarily adore that title, but it is what it is. So as a politician, I think that I really do have some strengths really with finance and relating to people and communicating. And that's the two big areas where I think we need to move forward and take a step forward. And anyway, that's why I'm running. I've lived in Eagle Mountain for 5.5 years
30
now.
seconds.
And I have a wife and two beautiful little girls. And Eagle Mountain is home for us. We moved here when we got out of the military. I was in the Air Force, and we wanted to put down roots and stop moving. So this is home. We intend to retire here, and I believe it's time to invest my time, more of my time, into Eagle Mountain. Thank you, and hope you enjoy.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. The chocolate was a funny thing, but on top of it says thank you for spending the evening with us. And I honestly have to thank you all for spending the evening with us, because this is quite a bit of time out of your evening, and that you're still here for the mayoral part. It says that you're really invested in what goes on in our community, and I appreciate that immensely. But I also need to thank Wendy and Charlotte and Danielle for their time, and I'm sorry, but I don't know your name, and you're fantastic with what you're doing over there dealing with sound. So thank you for putting this together. I need to share with you a story. So in 2008, an Eagle Mountain mom was on her way home from a carpool. Probably like many of you have experienced in your life dealing with carpools. This day, the day started off a balmy, lovely 50 degrees. But as she left Highland to make the 30-minute drive home, it suddenly changed into a tremendous winter storm. It hit with a fury. It hit so fast and so hard that there was nothing that anybody could do to help people, okay? She had 5 kids in her car and no cell phone. My friend, Wendy Bagley, was forced to drive at a snail's pace. Just to give you an idea how slow the traffic was going, 30 seconds. Between Smith's and Arctic Circle took her an hour. So nobody could get home. Our roads got closed, SR 73 got closed. And that's when I realized even more how important it was to work for you, for our community, to do the things that we need to. I worked through difficult issues and with many people, and I was able to get $3 million allocated so that we could get a secondary access into our city.
Time. All right, thank you. We'll begin with our questions now. We've got 4 questions again. The first one is, from what sources have you raised funds for your campaign? Who have been your biggest donors? Have any of your donors been entities with business before the city, either now, in the past, or likely in the future? Do you believe this is problematic? And we'll begin with Jackson.
Thank you. It's a great question. I have received money from various different donors, some sitting legislators, some businesses, some developers, and actually mayors in other cities as well, because they feel like the job that I'm doing here is critical to the needs of Eagle Mountain City. I think it's great to receive funds also I've received funds from our residents as well. And I think it's important that we have a balance in there so that we're receiving them from all places. At the same time, I don't want to overburden our residents with too much contributing as well. So I do go to deeper pockets because it does take a lot of money to run a campaign. So in that being said, various developers, I could name them all off, but I don't think I could remember them all at this point in time. You'll be able to see those in our finance reports. It's not that I'm afraid to say, received from DAI, from Dove Construction, just to name a few. But I just think it's important that we spread that around and get various donors to help us out.
I haven't taken any money from developers or anyone who has business before the city. I financed the campaign primarily out of my own pocket, and family members have donated money, and residents have donated money. And I was approached by one developer early on, probably the most notorious one, John Walden, and I turned that down. Now, let me say first, I don't think we need to paint this as that makes us an evil person if we took money from developers and we're in their pocket. I think that you can act without being partial to somebody if you've taken it, but there is a big problem in the perception that we've had from day one in the city. Moving forward, that's what I'm trying to get away from. I believe that the city needs to move away from any sense of impropriety, and that's the primary reason why I turned the money down from the developer. So anyway, I've invested my own money in the community, not because I want to be a politician. This will come at a personal cost when I step away from my job. But I think that the investment in the community is a worthy one, and I think that's what's necessary to move us forward. So that's how I funded my campaign.
Okay, it's now time for rebuttals.
I also wanted to let you know that my largest contributor is actually the Utah County Association of Realtors to date, and they support me and have every time that I've run. It's not necessarily that they have business with the city, but they can see the growth that happens out here, and they know the value that it brings. I'm grateful to the supporters that I have, because without them, I would never be able to do a campaign. But just so that you also know and recognize, I mentioned one the other day. It was DAI that I received funds from. And I called him out in our last city council meeting and flat out told him, I said, "You're not going to like what I have to say.
30 seconds.
I think we need this. We need a road to come into this development before we develop the townhome portion of it. And so know that I do hold these developers accountable just as much as anybody else. And I'm very happy to do that. I treat them all the same, and I treat everybody the same when they come in. But everybody has to have that opportunity to do business within our city."
As I started the campaign, I realized very quickly it does take a lot of money to run a campaign. And then, I got to a certain point where I said, you know what, why continue spending as much money? I mean, honestly, you could keep going. There is no end. You could always ask for more money for more people and spend more money. Then there's another approach, and that's the one that I've relied on. I would much rather knock on your door or come to an event like this and talk to you face to face. I think that's going to do just as much, if not more, than a sign on the side of the road. Maybe a couple of signs in key places is helpful, but beyond that, I'd much rather have the personal interaction and try to get the job done that way.
right, thank you. Now the next question is, what would be your top 3 priorities as your term in office begins? How will you go about accomplishing them? This time we'll start with Kendra.
Thanks. You know, the top priorities, one is really to start with the communication. You know, we've got this problem within the city where there's really a lot of distrust between the residents and the local government. And again, I think that has everything to do with history and what we've experienced through time. And you know, I think Adam Bradley said it earlier. This administration right now, we have done far more through the city, through this administration, to move communication forward, and that's good. But we're not doing enough. The distrust that we've had in the city requires that we over-communicate. We have to have all of the questions answered and give the information to the residents before they're asking for it. Now, the reason I say that is because as I had questions about things that were going on and things that were said with that the February town hall, I started to check up on the information, and I had to dig for most, if not all of it, in order to get the information that I was looking for. And when I got that information, what I found I could not reconcile with what came out. Now, I'm not saying that anything funny was going on there. I think it came down to a lack of having the information readily available so that even the administration knew exactly what was going on. And then when under the gun, they were forced to put information out, and that just didn't line up with what I found. So I think that's one. 2 would definitely be the financial issues that we have within the city. I think we're wasteful in the way that we spend our money, and I think that we need to make some very serious changes and ask some difficult questions. 3 is the culture within the city offices. I've talked to many city employees, and I get a similar story with everyone that I talk to. It's a system broken. The morale is very low. Not with everybody, mind you, and I don't mean to paint a bleak picture, but there's a lot of city employees who don't like going to work, and that needs to change.
Okay. My 3 priorities all deal with, well, first of all, it's economic development. It's the thing that we're lacking in our city more than anything else. And for those of you that are here tonight, you get to be the first to hear my latest announcement. And that is that Starbucks is coming to our city. They will be located inside of Ridley's Market. That is the first of things that you will be hearing in the next little bit. I can tell you, because this will go out tomorrow in my blog post, but we know that we have a hair salon coming, a laundry facility, a fast food restaurant, and an optometrist. And as we get those agreements in place, we'll be able to announce to you who those are, and I'm very excited about that prospect. But those of you that stuck it out and came out tonight got to hear before anybody else. We do need to work on our communication, and right now we're working on revamping our website so that it is easier for you to locate the information. As we've tried to put more and more information on that website, we found that it is older, it is antiquated, and it doesn't function the way that we want it to. So we brought a budget amendment to the council to start that process and get it moving quicker than it would have if we had just gone through the regular budgeting process. I'm really excited about that, and I look forward to the great information that we can give you through that process. One of the things that we started doing early on, though, we're one of the first cities that has had a public information officer full-time, because we have felt it is important to communicate with you. So we brought on a Facebook page early on, we brought on our Twitter page, and we can still do more and do better. So we're trying to communicate with you as soon as we know things that are exciting and things that we can do to fix things. And lastly, I think we need to work on our roads. And I was really glad that we were able to do a $180,000 project for $30,000 with Hidden Hollow.
Time. My time. My time. Do you have the other? Not at all.
Charlotte, share. If you want this one, share.
No problem. No problem.
We can start with rebuttal time, and we'll start with anger. All right.
Yeah.
So the last one maybe was cut a little short with the culture within the city. You know, I think the culture within the city and the employees, it's not all about the employees, it's every bit as much about the residents, and obviously a lot of the city employees are residents. The one thing that I think is imperative for an organization to have is cohesion. They need to be moving in one direction. They have to be moving together to accomplish one goal. Now, obviously, there's lots of things off to the side that we have to be doing as a city, and that's important. But why do we exist? So, if there were no people in Eagle Mountain, obviously, the city of Eagle Mountain government would have no reason to exist whatsoever. So it all has to be about the people. And what I see happening is I'm talking to people, knocking on doors. Everybody is very concerned about the way we're heading financially, and I don't see that that has taken center stage with our city. We don't seem to have any clear focus on fixing the pile of debt that we have currently. I don't see anybody bringing that up or taking any specific steps.
Thank you. I was talking about roads. Roads are our most critical need. We always have to have them. They have to be functioning and working well for us. We spent the last little bit patching up areas that have been just tremendously in need of work. I drive into the Landing subdivision, and for quite a while as I was driving in there, there was a pothole. I think my whole car could have fit in it. Anyway, but we've gotten that road fixed, and we need to continue doing that. We need to put those roads as our priority. Our transportation is critical because we can't do anything if we can't get in or out of our city and around the way that we need to.
All right. The third question is, what is your greatest strength, and how is it a benefit to the city? We'll begin with Mayor Jackson.
My greatest strength is my experience. Experience matters. I've spent quite a bit of time working through gaining relationships with other cities, in our city, with our developers, with our residents. I had the opportunity to visit with 2 residents recently. Brittany Long and Noel Pace came into my office. They were really concerned about a development that was coming across the way from them. And they were concerned about the process. And so we sat down and we talked about it, and we thought about the things that we could do to make it better. And I explained to them, one of the things about development that you need to understand is that the city, if things meet code, we have to approve it. We could get sued otherwise. It's not a matter of do we want it, don't we want it. We don't have the ability to do that. Private property rights are very important. So we spent time talking about those types of issues and talking about the process and how we could make it more transparent and easier to understand. So when the item came before the City Council, we spent a long time discussing it, probably 2.5, 3 hours almost. But it was the time that was well spent. And at the end, when a decision was made, many more people felt more comfortable when they left because we took the time and we talked about it. I encouraged the developer to continue his conversations with Brittany and other members of the community over there. And I know that they've had phone calls and meetings, and they're continuing to work on the concerns of those folks in that neighborhood. And that's how we work better, is to be able to just work through those types of issues.
I think that the greatest strength that I have that I would bring to the city is communication, and really a willingness to communicate. There are so many responsibilities within the role of mayor, and it's impossible for the mayor to be an expert and have expert knowledge in all of those. I think a big part of the mayor position is really to understand enough and have the relationships and be able to communicate well enough with people that you can trade ideas. The mayor's never going to have all of the answers, and they need to be willing to listen, willing to get ideas from other people. And you know, one thing that's been remarkable in going out and knocking on doors and talking to people is I've heard so many wonderful solutions to problems from residents. People that have experiences with different things that are different from mine. And so I think that that's one thing that is needed. We can't do what we've done many times before, which is when people come against us or you know, they have something to say, something critical, we get defensive. We can't do that. We don't need to take it personally. When someone has a criticism of the city or the administration, there's no reason why you can't listen first and then communicate after that. In my job, I have the
30 seconds.
distinct benefit of getting to talk to a lot of angry people. My job is a supervisory principal. I fix financial problems with people's investment accounts. And I talk to angry people, as it were, who get very emotional about their money. You can't come back at them. You can't be defensive about it. They're just emotional because it's something that's important to them. And people that are the same way in the city, we need to be able to listen and then take that information and act.
So the strengths, experience makes a difference. Knowing the roadmap, knowing where we need to go and how about going about that process. When we take a step backward, it takes us a long time to regain the momentum that we currently have. And we're moving. We've got a lot of great things going in the city right now. We finally got our first retail development going on. So the strengths that I have, more than anything, is experience. But
30 seconds.
I'm willing to take the time and put it in. I've spent over 16,000 hours working as your mayor for the last 6 years. That's 16,000 hours that's away from my family and everyone else. But I'm willing to do it because I love this community and I know that it's worth the time that I put in every single day.
I agree with the mayor on that. I think that experience is absolutely imperative. And I have 11 years of experience in the finance, banking, and investment industry. I have seen financial transactions from credit cards to underwriting mortgages to complex bond and even municipal bond issues. I understand inside and out. I've had many different experiences with construction as a young man, enough to know which way is up and which way is down, what's right and what's wrong. I reject for even a second that I would be a step back at all. That's certainly not the case with experience. And I've spent over 16,000 hours living in this city. I'm just kidding, that's not right. Anyway, I've read all of the minutes. I've read the certified annual financial reports, the budgets. I'm well apprised of what's going on.